But the Rav tells us one of the more difficult things that the Jews had to go to Egypt for, that generation, was to take the sparks out of Egypt. You know, what sparks are we talking about? Well, we're talking about the sparks of the Malchut, the kingship of Pharaoh over the world. That this has been the unenviable job of the Jews throughout the centuries, is that they go into a place, they become part of the great empire of the time, they become successful, they become loved, and then they become hated, and then they become kicked out, and a lot worse. That whole process is the Jew who has the idea of God in his mind going into the place where, like Abraham said, there's no God in Egypt. Pharaoh asked Abraham, how come you didn't tell me your sister is really your wife? Why did you lie? And he said, because I saw there was no God in this place. So that's the secret of every exile, that we are sent to where there is no God to say there is one. And when God sent the Jews to Egypt, it was to gather those sparks of Pharaoh's kingship and to say, no, we're taking it back, Pharaoh. You're not king anymore like you think you are. You're not the ruling emperor of the world anymore. God is the real ruling emperor of the world. And the Jews told Napoleon the same thing, and they told Hitler the same thing. All these people, these maniacs, they want to be leaders of the world. Who are they? God is the leader of the world. And the Jews have the unfortunate job of going to tell them. And I'm laughing, but it's horrible. But it's the truth. And you see that this has happened over and over again, that these sparks of kingship are given to each nation for a certain amount of time, and then they're taken away. So the process continues. The Jews have gone all around the world now, on every continent, and they're receiving the sparks of the kingship, whether they know it or not, even whether they're even religious or not. The Jews that even have never opened books of Kabbalah to learn these ideas, they still are part of the process. Intuitively and integrally, it's part of who they are. So we have to identify with this a little bit, I think, to help ourselves understand what it means to be a Jew and why I am such a person and why I am designed for this. And so the process is going on, and the sparks are being gathered as we speak. It's been going on for thousands of years, and this is the process of restoring the crown to God's head. To say, no, we have a king, folks. Relax. Quit following the false leaders and the false emperors. Because Rabbi Nachman teaches us this amazing thing. He says that the false leaders, you might think they're to blame for misleading the people. And he says, no, the followers are to blame for appointing him the leader. That if a person has his own brain in his head, he's not going to follow the wrong leader. And so if a person gives power to the wrong leader, it's his own fault. And the leader is just built for that desire. There are people that like to rule people. There are people that don't like to rule people. But those people that like to rule people, they're not to blame. That's the way they're designed. But the false leaders that arouse the followers are making the choice. So we have to be careful with choice. Choice is our humanity. Our choice is what makes us human beings. And so we want to choose the right people, the right leaders, the right rabbis, and the right teachers, so that we don't have to keep diving back in to this process that's been going on, that we can pull the sparks out and come back to Eretz Israel and rebuild the kingship of heaven here on earth.